Hello, and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Sasha Reade, and I am one of the design team members here for WOW, working with their products for the next little while. And I'm very excited that they've asked me to join their design team, and I can't wait to get creative with you. In today's technique, we're going to be making a faux shaker card. So it's going to look like a shaker card, but it's not actually going to shake. And it's a great card to use up any of these kind of chunky glitters, the more detailed glitters that you've got in your stash. You could use any glitter, to be honest. Tonight's focus is going to be on the Cotton Candy glitter by Catherine Pooler, which is new from WOW, and it's a really gorgeous iridescent glitter. And we're also going to use some embossing powder. I'm going to use the melted powder. If you don't have that, clear embossing powder will work brilliantly, any kind of clear embossing powder. The thinner and finer, the better. You'll also need some die cuts to create a frame like you would for a shaker card, and then some colored cardstock, some stamps of your choice. To create this card, we are basically going to start with our sort of shaker card basic elements. So we are going to create a background area, so we'll cut the biggest die first and create our little heart shape for the background. Then we will create our frame. To do that, you're going to need two dies, the two that are closest together. So you want your outside big heart that you just cut from your solid cardstock and the next size down, and you're going to line them up. And if you use a bit of low tack tape, this is the mint tape from scrapbook.com, you can go ahead and adhere those together nice and easily. Now I like to trim off the excess so it doesn't get too much sticky on my cards, and then to again make it even less sticky, I use my embossing powder bag or your embossing powder tool, or cornstarch, corn flour, that kind of stuff will work as well if that's all you've got to hand. You want to put a layer of that all over where the adhesive is exposed so that when you want to pop out your die cuts, it will come out nice and easy. It won't stick to your cardstock, it won't rip it. So I put a heavy load of it on because with the pressure of my Big Shot squishing down those die cuts, I find that it will start to stick again really easily. So I put a really good thick layer of that powder down on my die cuts. Now I'm going to take some WOW Super Smooth or Superior Smooth cardstock for my die cuts and for my card base. So all I'm going to do is place my dies on top of my card, cut out the area that I want to cut through my Big Shot, so I save on cardstock, and run that through 3 times at first. I did cut a 4th one in the end just to cover up my messy oopsies, which you'll see in a minute. So you want to glue all the layers together. Now you could do this with foam, so do one layer and then do a bit of foam underneath it, which is how you typically make a shaker card. However, because I'm applying heat to this project and I'm going to be melting some embossing powder, I didn't want to use foam because I know that that will warp and go a bit funny with heat, so I'm using layers of cardstock instead of a layer of cardstock and a layer of foam to kind of raise it up. So typically you would have these layers, you would put your shaker elements in, you'd put some acetate over the top, and then another layer of your outline, your heart outline, to go on the top of that. But we're going to kind of create our own little fake shaker card. So I'm going to use the WOW melted powder. I've got a little spoon just to scoop it in, and I've got my Catherine Pooler glitter ready to go as well. So I'm going to use my WOW heat gun. This is great because it's got 2 settings. You've got the lower setting and the higher setting. We are going to heat from the back primarily, so it doesn't really matter which setting you use. I tend to put it on the hotter setting, and you want something to kind of hold your element that you're working on because otherwise you're going to burn your fingers. So make sure you've got some kind of pinchy tool, a clip, something that can kind of keep it away from your fingers a little bit. So I'm going to take my melted powder and spread it right inside my heart. So I've got that nice triple layer of cardstock, so that's holding all my embossing powder in there. And we're going to heat from the back. It's really important to heat from the back because if you heat from the front, it'll just blow that powder everywhere. So we are heating from the back until all of it is melted because it is such a fine powder, it will literally blow across your desk, and then it's a bit of a sticky, powdery mess everywhere. So this is my first layer. It took only about a minute or so to heat all that and melt it. But as you can see from the front, once it's all melted, I can turn my heat gun around to the front, give it a little bit of an extra blast to kind of melt it. And you can see it looks quite lumpy and bubbly. So this is a great sign that you need another layer because it's obviously got little patches missing. So we want to fill in those patches and put on another layer so it's nice and smooth. We're going to do the exact same steps as before, so we'll put down our powder and then we'll heat it from behind till it's all melted. Again, when the back is all done, we can bring it around to the front to kind of give it a little bit more of a smooth over. Now, this is where we do have to be quite quick. We have to get our sparkles ready to rock and roll because this melted powder goes cold quick. and it will go hard quick. So we want to heat it from the front again really quickly and add on our sparkles as fast as we can. And don't do this, don't try and smooth it around because you make a little blob with your fingers. Once that glitters on the front, we really can't apply much heat to that front anymore. The reason being is that our glitter will start to melt. So we don't want to apply too much heat to the front anymore. So we want to be quick with heating up that melted powder and getting our glitter on. However, you can apply a little bit if you've missed some areas, like I've missed the whole edge there. So I'm just adding a bit more heat very quickly, not too much focused in one spot. And then I can go ahead and add on my glitter. And it just kind of melts into that melted powder. Now, I wanted to add another layer on top of this to kind of give it a more finished look and really trap that glitter in, but I was quite concerned that I might melt some of my glitter, so I decided not to. And it worked in the end. I just tapped off any excess. I did scoop up all that glitter and put it back into the jar off my desk so I didn't waste any. And we've got this gorgeous sort of glittery, almost shaker-like element. Now I'm going to start working on the rest of the card and building it up. I've got these Natasha Davies embossing powders, and I thought this gold one was gorgeous. It's gold and white, so it doesn't really matter what color you put it on. You get a beautiful gold and white background. Now to finish off my shaker card, I'm adding on that top element to cover up the embossing powder that kind of seeped off the edges a little bit and just give it that beautiful, clean, finished look. So now I can go ahead and build up my card. And for this one, I decided to measure my heart and then go about 1/8 to 1/2 inch bigger on the sides for my little panel to go in the background. For my back panel, I wanted to create a really beautiful embossed look as well. So I'm taking an embossing pad. Now, I don't have a Wow embossing pad yet, but it is coming. They're so popular, they're out of stock at the moment. So any embossing pad will work, but I'm so excited to get my Wow embossing pad soon. And I'm just going to go ahead and apply ink to all the edges. Now obviously again, I don't want to end up melting my fingers when I try and heat this up because we're doing almost that whole background panel. So I'm just adding a bit of a sort of handle to my panel. So I've glued a couple pieces of card together for some strength and added a tiny bit of glue onto the back of that so I can hold that panel and cover it in embossing powder and not get my fingers all messed up and icky and sticky, and also I don't burn my fingers. I could use my clip again, but then my clip would be dented into the side of that, and I want this to be a beautiful background image. Now again, I'm heating from behind because this has got lots of kind of sparkly elements to it, and I didn't want to blow off all my embossing powder, so I heated most of it from behind, then brought my gun round to the front to kind of heat the rest of it and melt the rest of it from the front. Now I'm going to gently peel off my little bonus handle. The back doesn't matter because that's going to be all hidden anyways, and the heart's going right over the center, so even if I did rip through, it wouldn't matter. Now we have this quick, easy, beautiful background ready to go on our card, so I'm just going to apply some liquid adhesive to that and stick that down on my card base, which is slightly bigger than my card front panel here. Now to stick my heart element onto my card base, I wanted to use a really strong glue, and this one from Craftelier is very good. It's used for bookbinding, and as you can see, my heart is quite warped from all that heat I applied to it, so it's a bit kind of bendy and curved, and so I want to use a really strong glue to really hold that down. This one is fantastic. It goes on very nice and smoothly. It's quite stinky, so if you're sensitive to smells, this probably isn't a great glue for you. But I'm going to stick that heart down and then put a couple books on it, just to kind of weigh it down for a few minutes while that sets. And when it's all done, you can see it's perfectly flat. My card is beautifully flat, and now we can add our sentiments and our kind of final details to the card. It's got plenty of glitter and shine to it, so I'm not going to add any more elements like gems or jewels, but I am going to add some stamped bits. I felt with all the white that was going on the card, I really needed a bit of black to kind of draw your eye in to the focal point of it, to our sentiment. So I've got some dies from Trinity Stamps, which I'm going to use for the happy. I really wanted that to pop. I wanted it to look slightly different than my stamped sentiments that I've got there from Wow. Now a quick tip and trick is you can make your sentiments nice and sticky so that you can add them really easily just by taking any double-sided tape and running it along the back side of your card and then running it through your die cut machine. So I've done 2 layers here and I've got them all ready to go. I can just peel them off and stick them on. To get them nice and lined up, I'm going to take my die cut negative area and I'm going to temporarily tape that onto the front of my card just so I can get my happy all lined up nice and neat and straight. Then I can go ahead and pop my little sticky elements back in there. So I peel off the release sheet, stick in my letters right back where they belong, and then that way it'll be nice and adhered and I don't have to worry about any liquid glue popping out from any of the sides and showing through. Once I've got all those letters nice and in place, I can then go ahead and add on my second layer of letters, which I did off camera. and you will get this gorgeous bold word as your focal sentiment point. So everyone's eyes are drawn into that happy. You got this nice dark sentiment right in the middle. Now I've used some opaque bright white regular embossing powder from Wow. You can see here I've done it on a little swatch on the top on black cardstock, so you can see how dark that, or how solid that white really is. For my extra little sentiments, I use these little dies here just to create a little banner. You could cut that by scissors or just leave it as straight flat edges, but I love the look of like a cute little banner, and I'm not so good at fussy cutting and cutting myself something nice and straight, especially on something this small and fiddly, so I decided to use those dies instead. And then I can just add on those last little bits of the sentiment, and now I've got a really cute anniversary or wedding card to give away to someone. I hope you enjoyed creating with me today here on Wow. Don't forget, I do have a YouTube channel as well. Just look up Sasha Reade and you'll find me over there if you want some extra videos along the way. Otherwise, I will see you back here on Wow's YouTube channel again in, I think, just a couple weeks. And I really look forward to it. So please do like, subscribe, and follow on the Wow channel. Also, all the products I've used today will be in the description box down below for you if you want to check them out. And don't forget to pop over to my channel if you want to see some more creative stuff from me. Take care and have a great day. Bye!